Welcome back to TGR News, guys. A lot of people haven't had the opportunity to understand the 14th Amendment sections 2 and 3. In my latest video, my update about this lawsuit situation, which, is, a project in work right now because, with, the hard work I put into before going out there using a megaphone, the very opportunity, me going out there with my free speech, avocation, rallying by myself, the very factors that, not a lot of people go out there and do that anyways, and me taking the time, just looking into the laws, looking into, what can I and what can I not do out there, and, calling lawyers, calling, the police stations and calling the city about this very situation. So, we got the ball rolling on that. But, the factor is, that a lot of people need to understand what the 14th Amendment sections 2 and 3 is. And what, why I uphold the 14th Amendment. It is an opportunity for you to know that the 14th Amendment sections 2 and 3 is something that not only affects the government officials, but it affects we the people. And how does this, really connect, and how does this really make sense? It's, a very easy understanding in shutting down people who, aid or support any form or fashion of rebellion, insurrection, criminal activity for people who are associated in these situations. It's something for us to know that, like on the radical left, from government officials like mayors or any type of Congress, Senate who is supporting people like the Black Lives Matter organization or the Antifa or anti-fascist groups, or even to groups that are becoming radical on the alt-right side. This is something that we face that has a big privilege to us as we the people, make our congressmen recognize the facts of the real destructive problems that happen in our country, which we've been dealing majorly with groups like the Black Lives organizations and the Antifa organizations. Now, I was trying to say that, when I was starting that video off, I was trying to explain my issues with the Black Lives Matter organization. Came across the information, the 14th Amendment sections 2 and 3, and I was surprised by what I was understanding. I was surprised by what I was reading. And, my direct approach to them, was, threatening, of course, in a way. Of course, I was targeting them. And yes, that's what gave me a lot of opportunity to talk to some of the people who did lead marches in Baltimore, especially a pastor himself. This was opportunity and where I disturbed their little thinking, made them, sort of like, what are you saying? Do you understand, and don't you get one out of many? Well, here I am, shouting out one out of many myself, becoming the main motto because it's an American motto. It's a very understanding of a voice, of understanding who we are, not saying that we're all right, not saying that every opinion or subjective cause or subjective, thought or even words, that are placed out there, or even just everybody's choices themselves, that are, not subjectively created or put out there. But the fact is that, I've worked very hard, to understand it. I looked into it real nice and neat and understood that, for those people who are, supporting these organizations, especially, Hillary Clinton herself, her campaign, that was the biggest, ball above it all, of sitting there watching her own campaign being exposed by an alternative news group that had the opportunity to infiltrate her campaign, infiltrate, her structures, and then, catch everyone off guard like they did, to know that they're out there paying mentally ill people, going out there disrupting, Trump rallies on purpose, the very, objective stuff that we condemn so hard, because of the harsh reality that they put us through for their destructive game, and knowing that it was being, funded by Hillary Clinton's campaign, funded by the Hillary Clinton organization and her, her sponsors, her leads, So it was a very destructive problem to see, continuously without any type of, formal recognition to handle such a problem, So, to find that solution, I was, quite happy to know that I had that opportunity. Guys, it's not always easy. It's not. It's not always easy to sit here and tell you that, you know, crooked Hillary was the cause of her own downfall. It's not the full truth. I'd love to blame everything on Hillary Clinton. It just seems something that so easily, you could put out there. But even the most intelligent people would look past like, oh, well, yeah, right, it is Hillary Clinton's fault because, she didn't support the police union. She supported killing cops. She supported Black Lives Matter organizations and who are, tied in with the Black Panthers of racism and going out there chanting racism, and also that are tied in with communism, like the Antifa group, So here we're facing, a woman who is running for president, her campaign, her leadership also being exposed for inciting violence during the inauguration or during even the Trump rallies, basically. Here they are pre-planning these fights out, pushing this radical, act out there, calling everyone neo-Nazi, calling everyone, racist, just to start fights with people. And we have to face it that, not all the time that, it is the truth, It wasn't always because, people were out there, inciting violence, that a lot of bad stuff happened out there, some people just had bad agendas in the first place. Some people were just prepared to go out there and cause harm because, they were leads of a criminal organization, of a racist group that hated this country, that hated our culture. Hated my culture, white, or your culture if you're white. But, not the fear the obvious, or fear the understanding, but we face criminals. We face criminals being supported by our own government. Leads of the Black Lives Matters, or gangs, or even the Black Panthers, which is also known as a gang. And it's just knowing that even these groups like Antifa or, what's that name of that group real quick? By any means, being funded by our government, being supported by our government. All these people out there going out in rebellion and insurrection, causing criminal activity, and these government officials associating themselves with the situation. It was a point in time for us to recognize we could do something about this. So yeah, I did send, my message out there pretty clear. I'm coming after your voting rights. And that was a long time ago. Of course, I understand, it seems kind of, harsh to think that way. But you've got to think about the harsh reality they're putting towards, the innocent civilians out there. You've got to think about the reality. Over 25 officers have been shot and ambushed out killings. Now, this is something that's been produced by the left and produced by the Black Lives Matter organization, that has been produced by Antifa. This is something that, should have already been criminalized, as groups of terrorism by the damage they've done and by the support that they have had, should have shot a lot of people out of office. So I worked very hard, to get that message out there, the 14th Amendment sections 2 and 3 about government officials being associated with, people in rebellion, insurrection, and criminal activity. And I went through a whole billion of ways of understanding that, in the most clearest functional way that people could get the definition through so many different videos, through so many different creative videos, actually, and actually through my own words, through my own opportunity, spreading videos out there, page to page, was very important to me to really get it out there, educate people, and be like, look, write your Congress, write your Senate, and get Congress, get the president, get Donald Trump, write somebody about this situation, because this is what you need to do. This is what it's going to take. Get these people to start recognizing that this is a law that's been established by legislation, by the Senate, by the Congress. These things are illegal in which is going on in our country, and it's not being recognized. So it's been one of my top things that I ever picked up in my life. Even for being a news producer or a journalist myself, it was very important for me, the work I put into it, which talking to senators, talking to Congress, talking to anybody I can get that message out there, just making the phone calls, sending the emails myself. So it was hard work doing that stuff. And then, of course, yeah, I didn't really super bomb the emails or phone calls because, it's like, who's this guy? Why is he talking about this? Jump around, sending emails to different people, not just hammering one person. So it's not easy to sit here and, say I didn't have a big part against, 2016 elections also, because when I look back at it, I did put my hands to work against, Hillary Clinton's campaign for president. Most definitely knew that it was a victory at hand, recognizing the situation when it came to the very factors of the 14th Amendment, Sections 2 and 3, that also would have affected a lot of different mayors, our congressmen, our Senate that was in power. So if you really don't understand the 14th Amendment, Sections 2 and 3, you do want to look it up. And you do want to start becoming more active, having this information. You don't want to just produce it to, we the people, which is very important. To me, I had to have the people. More people means more emails, more phone calls, and all it takes is a little bit of understanding. That's all it takes, is just a little bit. And when you have that little bit of understanding, you start recognizing, wow, he makes a little sense. Wow, this kind of, goes together. Well, look into it yourself, take the time and have that understanding yourself. And that's just kind of what I continue putting out there. It's like, if you don't believe me, look into it. This is going to, benefit you in this very situation. And it's not favoritizing, it's not racism, because it's your 14th Amendment. It's equality in voting. It's equality for your democracy. While your democracy is being slammed by people who are beating people for being Trump supporters. While your democracy is being slammed, why, they're favoritizing, violent protesters over the peaceful protesters. Your democracy, your freedom, your rights, you're being destroyed in this country because people didn't give a shit. And here they are allowing it to happen, and no one's doing anything to stop it. And that's the message I kept very clear about the 14th Amendment, about Sections 2 and 3. It's a very important message that I still want to educate people on and uphold myself, so that people understand these actions that are going on right now. I know you're like, how does it happen? It is, how do we deal with this 14th Amendment, Sections 2 and 3? How does this really, it works, you just think about the logic. Who is supporting these people? Who continues defending these people? Who continues associating themselves in this very group of people that continue causing problems? Now that's the very importance, and that's your first steps right there. Bingo, bam, they're down, and then we're thinking about right now, what are we going to do about these people? Well, we've got to shut them down. We have the right to shut them down for what they're doing to our countries. There's many different laws that set these people apart from what other people do in this country when it comes to protesting and rallying, when it comes to standing up for our freedoms, and really, understanding the logical function of what they're doing, the very mentality of what they say out of their mouths, what they do and they believe in. And it's just so unique to see such dysfunction out there, to see that we don't expect people to continue living that lifestyle. And yet they do. And people continue supporting it. So, we find that reality. We have that opportunity to deal with it one way or another. But when you have a solution like mine, this is a reality. It's a strategy play. It is something that it works every single time. Why? Because it is our Constitution, it is a legislation law, and it's something that protects us as free voters, or fair voting, as I call it. It is something that protects you and I, and our democracy, and our voting, so that, one is not being favoritized over the other, so that one group is not getting away with something, destructive, criminalistic, rebellious, or insurrective, that shouldn't be getting away with these things for the cause that they've been doing it. It's the reality that we wake this world up to what I've been standing for the rest of my life now, for something that'll never change, for the very education of this opportunity. So, I sit here and I just wanted to talk about the 14th Amendment, like yesterday, I was just, I was thinking, I had a lot on my mind, it just struck me, about the subjective things, about how people go out there and they just call people racist. and they don't understand the freedoms we have. They don't respect the freedoms we have. They don't understand the work people do. I can sit here and say I created a racist black man page and being racist to white people. And they'll be like, oh, wow, that's so cool. And I'll be sitting here, I created a racist white man and being racist to black people. But they'll be like, what? You can't do that. We're just like, whatever, but I'm still here sitting here, fuck you. But point is that this country, I don't live by the boundaries of people's opinions, people's sites, and where they try to draw the line and try to, bound you together. It's not going to happen that way for me. My beliefs are always going to be my beliefs. I'm always going to do what I got to do and recognize what I have to recognize, because I know I'm looking for a better future. I'm knowing that I'm looking for, something more, progressive. No, what's the word I'm looking for? It's when you're fruitful, when you're very, filled of something and continuously grow, we'll get back to that word. But the point is that, I'm about the future. I'm about growing into the future. I'm about, us making it further than we have. And people are like, how can you be? Look at your beliefs. Look at what you do. How can that? Well, you wouldn't understand. You've lost the logic. You've lost the understanding. You've continuously pushed something to the point where you got it, but you turn around and start attacking other people. And you're crying about things, but you're still turning around and attacking other people about something that really doesn't exist. And yeah, it does exist, but it doesn't exist the way you want it to exist. You make it exist the way you want it to exist because you want something and you want to create something and you want to get somewhere where you started with something, or you've been guided to do these things and you just feel like, I don't want to be an idiot no more. I don't want to be the person like, I just got to continue being, the retard that my job set me out to be, because if I started acting like you do, they'll fire me and I'm fucked. Well, that's your problem, that's not my problem. The problem is that I speak freely, I speak openly, I believe the way I'm going to believe. I could care less about, the left or the right, but I am, not lukewarm in between either one. I stand for the right. I know why I stand for the Republican Party. Not that I represent them as the Republican in the world, but, we find that reality so strong, within our understanding. We find that reality so realistic because, like I said, we face that 14th Amendment sections 2 and 3. It is about our progress and growing in this country. It is about the reality of recognizing the 14th Amendment sections 2 and 3. But, recognizing that is also recognizing the criminals in office, supporting the criminals on the ground, and it is recognizing how to deal with those situations. And yeah, I get it. Our logic just no longer wants to fit in your world. But, when you seem to get something, it just doesn't seem to work out for you the way you want it anymore. You just want more. And you start showing your true colors. But, I just like I said on my Gab, and I probably said it somewhere else, how can you support the LGBTQ? You can support a percentage of gay people in a way, but you can't support, fully what they want. You can't support the gay marriage. You can't support, the gay issues with transgenders if they call it a gay issue. But, why do they call it a gay issue? Obviously, a man who wants to be a woman to be with a man, it makes sense. But, they're wanting to make them neutral gender, and gender neutral, where, you've got to recognize, their subjective thoughts of who they want to be, but, it's not who they're naturally going to be. It's never who they were born to be. And that's why I believe in fair dating. Fair dating is so important to us, it lets us know. Even for religion, which, a lot of y'all do not like religion, regardless of how much y'all stand up for, Muslims and Islam, the very factor that a lot of y'all, who think that you understand the situation as well as we do, and think that we don't understand how stupid you would think some of us are, or how stupid you would underestimate the few of us, even at the odds we look at. It is obvious that we know that you want to cut us off from the opportunity of education or sharing information, as if everything is fake or lies, or if everything doesn't fit your agenda. And it's not our fault. Our country is the way it is. Our forefathers could have turned this country into anything. And it is a free country. It's a free democracy. Of course it is, but we tell you the very destructive problems. It comes out all the time as a destructive problem when it comes to communism. I mean, are we fearing, fascism, neo-Nazi problems? No, no, we're not. We will treat them just the same as we would the communists. But how many times do we continue dealing with the radicalism from the communistic left issues and the liberalistic problems? How many times do we face the reality from the left? It's just, ridiculous. And we get that, and it's going to be our factors. It's going to be our truth, But, like I said, I jump on here. I talk about some things that are very important, And when I talk about the 14th Amendment, I talk about opportunity. I talk about the reality in our country where we know how to shut down people the proper way. And yeah, it can take away your voting rights. And yes, it can take away people's privileges ever going back into office. And that is the truth. You just look into it. It is a very educational experience for people, And like I said, at a last video, I'm just sitting here thinking, people who subjectively think, call people racist, and don't understand that, we get it. You want us to become a left, and you want us to shout, derogative things and advocate violence against cops. We get that. You want us to give up, our righteous ways, I guess. I don't really get what's so righteous about the right and left. I guess everybody sins. There's no righteous men in this world, but we sit here and face that reality, that we get that you want us to give up being a Republican, become a lefty, and shout out avocations against cops, go out there and shout avocations against people's lives. But here we are, still standing in resistance against your resistance, and still standing here facing the facts that your threats have made us become more threatening against y'all because of your issues. And that's the reality, and people don't want to open up to that problem. Well, you know what? It's going to be life. It's going to be us. But I hope you guys had a good understanding about the 14th Amendment today. This is my video. The 14th Amendment sections 2 and 3, guys, has been, my biggest avocation. I was pushing through the elections against Hillary Clinton, against a lot of different people, actually, even against the Baltimore mayor, for the videos. I had awesome videos. I wish y'all people would have seen those videos, and I will, I guess maybe one day somehow figure out how to make a video out of it, some form of journalism to remind people of it. But until then, I've got this video, so you guys enjoy. Adios.